There comes a moment when silence gets loud, when the hum of unfinished dreams echoes through the walls of your mind. It's in that moment you realize no one's coming to save you. The teachers taught about discipline like it was a cage, something to keep you in line, to make you obey. But no one ever told you how it feels when you're alone with your excuses, when your own promises start haunting you. The rain outside blurs the city lights, each drop a reminder of time slipping away. You scroll through lives that look perfect, wondering why your own reflection feels so distant. And somewhere beneath the noise, there's a whisper. Maybe it's not that you're lazy. Maybe you just never learned what discipline really means. Morning light doesn't feel like hope anymore. It feels like judgment. The alarm rings, not to wake you, but to remind you that another day has already begun, without your permission. The world moves with purpose, while you hesitate on the edge of your own potential. You remember all those lectures about success. Follow the rules. Stay consistent. Be disciplined. And yet here you are, tired before the day even starts. The truth is, no one talks about the weight that discipline carries when it's not born from love. The kind that feels like chains instead of choice. You move through routines that used to mean something, now hollow echoes of someone else's plan. And as you stare at your reflection, it's not failure you fear most. It's the thought that you might keep living like this forever. He remembers the classroom like a cage lined with good intentions. They told him discipline meant staying in line, never questioning, always obeying. But the world outside doesn't work that way. Out here, the lines blur. Out here, life doesn't hand out grades. It hands out consequences. He recalls the teacher's voice, sharp, certain, promising that discipline was the bridge to success. But no one told him what to do when the bridge collapses under the weight of doubt. The lessons echo in his head like ghosts of certainty, and for the first time, he wonders if discipline isn't about control at all, but courage. The courage to keep building, even when no one claps. He spends the day pretending to be fine, replying to emails, checking boxes, nodding through small talk. But beneath every polite smile is a scream no one hears. Failure doesn't always come as collapse. Sometimes it's disguised as busyness. You look like you're holding it together, but inside, the cracks grow wider. The hardest part isn't losing, it's pretending you're not lost. And when night falls again, and the noise of the day fades into stillness, that's when the truth sneaks in. You've been disciplined in all the wrong things. Disciplined in distraction. Disciplined in self-doubt. Disciplined in hiding from who you could be. That night, he walks home under the hum of streetlights. The rain has stopped, but the pavement still glistens, reflecting the world upside down, like a mirror to his own confusion. For the first time, he stops trying to fix everything and simply stands still. The air is cool, the city quiet, his thoughts clear. Maybe discipline isn't about control. Maybe it's about alignment, the daily act of choosing what matters, again and again, until your life begins to reflect your truth. The streetlight flickers above him, and in that trembling light, something shifts inside. The storm hasn't ended. It's just begun. But this time, he's ready to face it differently. He wakes before dawn, determined to rewrite himself through discipline, the kind they preached in classrooms and corporate halls. Every second planned, every task scheduled, every breath measured. He believes control will cure chaos. For a while, it works. His mornings sharpen, his steps grow precise, his reflection even begins to look proud. But beneath that order lies quiet suffocation. You can trap yourself inside perfection so tightly that you forget to live. And somewhere between his coffee cup and the ticking clock, he realizes that control might not be discipline. It might just be fear. dressed in structure. He visits his old school to speak with the man who first taught him what discipline meant. The corridors smell of chalk and memories. Mr. Bennett greets him with a firm handshake and a familiar smirk, the kind that hides judgment behind politeness. "You just need to push harder," the old voice echoes. Discipline means control. The moment you relax, you lose. Ethan nods, pretending to agree. But something in him feels off, like trying to wear clothes that no longer fit. He realizes that the discipline he once admired might have been born from fear of failure, not faith in growth. Days blur into lists. Sleep becomes optional. Meals turn mechanical. The mirror reflects a version of him that looks successful but feels hollow. He's living the script of every productivity guru, yet his soul feels absent. When discipline becomes punishment, it stops being power. His body trembles under pressure, his heartbeat cinched with deadlines, and in that dizzy silence, as his computer hums and the world spins faster, he finally breaks, collapsing under the weight of his own expectations. That's when he learns, even the strongest chains are useless if they only bind you to pain. The morning after his collapse feels strangely peaceful. No alarms, no plans, no rushing. Just quiet. He watches the sunlight crawl across his floor, touching the same room that once felt like a prison. In the stillness, he notices things he never saw before. The hum of the fridge, the rhythm of his own breathing. He realizes he's been running so long, he forgot why he started. Discipline without purpose is motion without meaning. And for the first time in years, he lets himself do nothing. And it feels like freedom. When he finally steps outside, the world feels different, quiet, slower, alive. He walks with no destination, just breathing. Somewhere between the sound of his footsteps and the wind brushing through trees, he senses something changing. Maybe the real lesson isn't in controlling everything, but in listening to the still voice that remains when control fades. He doesn't know it yet, but this silence is about to introduce him to someone who will redefine everything he's ever known about discipline. The wind shifts, and destiny takes its first breath. There's a strange heaviness in doing nothing, the kind that doesn't come from laziness, but from losing the will to care. He wakes late, but it doesn't matter anymore. The world moves without him, like a train he's missed too many times to chase again. The messages pile up, the deadlines pass, and silence becomes a comfort. The same routines that once felt structured now feel meaningless. He watches the clock, not to manage time, but to feel its slow cruelty. It's in this stillness that the truth begins to whisper. Sometimes, the greatest fall isn't from failure, but from forgetting who you are. He used to hate silence. Now it's all he has. The hum of the refrigerator, the buzz of distant traffic, the faint rhythm of his breath. All of it becomes a kind of music he never asked for. He scrolls through his phone, searching for meaning in pixels, comparing his behind the scenes to everyone else's highlight reel. But envy turns to apathy. Days blur into nights, meals into snacks, minutes into hours. Time dissolves, and somewhere in that blur, he begins to see the reflection of someone he no longer recognizes, someone who's given up trying to fight the drift. It happens suddenly. The body gives out before the mind admits defeat. A skipped meal, a missed night of sleep, a single breath that feels too heavy to finish. He drops to the floor, not from pain, but from emptiness. No audience, no applause, no lesson, just gravity and silence. The ceiling blurs as tears rise uninvited. And for the first time, he doesn't fight them. In this collapse, there is no strength, only surrender. But sometimes, that's where new strength begins, in the quiet crumble of the person you pretended to be. Somewhere between exhaustion and peace, he hears it, a voice not loud but steady. It doesn't scold or promise. It simply calls. It says, "Get up." Not because you failed, but because you're still here. And suddenly, for the first time in a long time, he listens. The tears slow. The breathing steadies. There's no grand awakening, no miracle. Just a fragile decision to stand. It's not discipline yet, not strength, but it's something real. A seed planted in the dirt of defeat. He stands. It's shaky, imperfect, small, but it's everything. The floor creaks under his weight as if the world itself acknowledges the effort. He walks to the window, pulls open the blinds, and lets the light in. The city outside hasn't changed, but he has. There's still pain, still confusion, still doubt. But now there's also breath, presence, and the faint rhythm of life returning. He doesn't know where to go next, but he knows this. Discipline isn't about never falling. It's about standing up again. One more time, then you fall. Rain again. The city looks alive under it, breathing, cleansing, forgiving. He steps outside, not to run, not to think, just to move. Each droplet that hits his face feels like a baptism, washing away everything false. His steps are slow, heavy, deliberate. The rhythm of the rain matches the pulse in his chest, a heartbeat of rebirth. And as he turns the corner, lost in thought, he doesn't realize he's about to meet someone who will change everything. Because sometimes, the universe doesn't send teachers in classrooms, it sends them in storms. It happens in a second, a near collision, a startled apology, a shared laugh that feels strangely familiar. She looks at him with eyes that don't just see, but understand. There's something calm about her, something rooted. Her voice cuts through the rain like clarity itself. "You look like someone trying to outrun their own thoughts," she says. He almost denies it, then stops. Because she's right, there's no judgment in her tone, only truth. The kind that disarms. The kind that heals. They talk beneath a half-broken street lamp as the rain softens to mist. She tells him something no one else ever did. Discipline isn't about control. It's about love. The love to keep showing up when no one claps. The love to do what matters even when it hurts. He listens, silent, the words sinking deep. All his life, discipline meant chains, pressure, perfection. Now it sounds like freedom, like peace. She smiles and says, "You've been punishing yourself for not being perfect." When discipline was never about perfection. It was about becoming. She hands him a small journal from her pocket, worn, rain-stained, filled with scribbles and notes. Every day, she says, "I write one line, something I kept my word on." Doesn't matter how small. Over time, that's how trust is built. With yourself. He holds it, unsure whether to thank her or cry. For years, he's chased validation from the world. But now he realizes the one person he stopped believing in was himself. The reflection staring back from the puddle at his feet no longer looks lost. It looks ready. As the sun breaks through, they walk together in silence. The world feels cleaner, lighter. She tells him, "Discipline doesn't demand you be strong every day. It asks you to show up, even when you're weak." He looks at her, realizing that for the first time, he's not running from life, he's walking toward it. She doesn't promise to fix him, only to teach him how to rebuild. The clouds part. The light warms his face. And somewhere deep inside, he begins to believe that maybe he's not broken, just unfinished. The first day doesn't look like victory. It looks like waking up early when your body still aches. It looks like making your bed, brewing coffee, and sitting in silence instead of scrolling. It looks like nothing from the outside, but everything on the inside. Discipline, he learns, isn't a performance. It's the quiet promise you keep to yourself when no one's watching. As the morning light touches his face, he feels something stir. Not pride, not motivation, but peace. And for the first time, peace feels powerful. They meet again at the park. She notices the difference before he says a word. The steadiness in his steps, the softness in his eyes. Consistency is a conversation, she tells him. It's how you talk to your future. He smiles faintly, realizing he's begun to listen. Every small act has started echoing back to him. Proof that he's rebuilding, piece by piece. She teaches him to track progress not by achievement but by alignment. Who you are, she says, should match what you do, even when no one sees it. Days turn into rhythm. Wake, move, reflect, repeat. It's not glamorous, but it's sacred. The repetition that once felt like punishment now feels like prayer. He writes a single line in the journal each day, just as she taught him. I showed up. And every time the pen moves, the fear loses power. He begins to understand. Discipline isn't a battle between strength and weakness. It's an agreement between your present self and your future one. It's not about forcing change. It's about staying faithful to it. Then comes the test. The bad day. The missed alarm. The old doubts whispering, "See? You haven't changed." But this time, he doesn't spiral. He breathes, he forgives, and he starts again. He realizes discipline isn't about never breaking the pattern. It's about refusing to quit when it breaks. There's grace in trying again, power in gentleness. And as he picks up the journal that night and writes one simple sentence, I came back, he feels something deeper than pride. He feels ownership. Weeks pass. The noise fades. He wakes before sunrise, not out of guilt, but gratitude. The silence that once terrified him now feels like home. His movements flow with purpose. His thoughts align with peace. The mirror no longer judges, it reflects. He's not chasing the future anymore. He's walking with it. In the stillness, he finally understands. Discipline isn't a destination. It's devotion. The quiet act of becoming who you were always meant to be. Morning again, but this one feels different. The same sunrise, the same coffee, the same city. Yet somehow, everything glows. He's not chasing time anymore. He's keeping pace with it. The silence that once haunted him now sings. The routine that once suffocated him now frees him. He realizes mastery isn't about doing more. It's about being present in what you do. Every motion, every breath, every pause carries purpose. The world hasn't changed. He has. And that changes everything. He meets Maya again weeks later. She watches him speak to a group of younger runners, his voice steady, eyes alive. She doesn't interrupt. She just smiles, because the student who once stumbled in storms is now guiding others through their own. Discipline, she told him, was never about control. It was about contribution. And now he finally understands. The point of growth isn't to rise above others. It's to reach back and lift someone else. His life grows fuller, but quieter. No applause, no spotlight, just rhythm. He no longer measures his worth by outcomes, only by integrity. He stopped chasing perfection. Now he lives truth. Every action flows effortlessly, grounded in patience. Even on hard days, he smiles, because mastery isn't about never failing. It's about never forgetting who you are, even when you do. His power now is invisible, unshakable, the kind built in silence and proven in peace. He visits his old classroom, the place where his misunderstanding of discipline began. Mr. Bennett is still there, older, slower, quieter. They speak for a while, not as teacher and student, but as men. Ethan tells him, "You were right about discipline being the bridge to success, but only if the bridge leads to yourself." The older man says nothing at first. Then he smiles, a small, tired smile that holds both regret and relief. The lesson has finally completed its circle. The city sleeps. He stands on the rooftop, wind brushing his face, stars flickering above. There's no celebration, no grand ending, only silence and sky. But within him, everything hums. The fear that once drove him has become faith. The chaos that once consumed him has become clarity. Discipline isn't a cage anymore. It's the wings he built through pain and patience. And tonight, under the quiet sky, he finally spreads them. The sun rises, same as it always does. But this time, he's awake before it. There's no rush, no pressure, no checklist, just breath. He watches the light spill across his floor, golden and kind, and realizes this is what peace feels like. Not the absence of struggle, but the alignment of it. Every failure, every fall, every lonely night brought him here. He understands now. Discipline isn't about changing your life overnight. It's about changing your response to it, choosing presence over panic, patience over perfection, and faith over fear. Later, he meets Maya for coffee. Not as student and mentor, but as equals. She smiles, seeing in him the reflection of everything she once learned the hard way. "You've changed," she says. He laughs softly. "No," he replies. "I finally remembered who I was before the world told me to hurry." They sit in silence for a while, watching sunlight ripple across their cups. There's nothing left to teach, only gratitude. The quiet kind that needs no words. As he walks home, he notices everything he used to overlook. The way sunlight dances on windows, the laughter of strangers, the rhythm of his own footsteps. The city didn't get calmer. He did. The noise didn't fade. He just stopped giving it power. Discipline, he realizes, was never about forcing life to obey. It was about learning to flow within it, to keep showing up when things fall apart, to trust that consistency builds faith, and faith builds freedom. That evening, he writes one final line in his journal. "Discipline is not about control. It's about care." The words feel complete. He closes the book not as an ending, but as a continuation, a ritual of gratitude. The wind from the open window turns the last page on its own, as if the world itself approves. For the first time, he feels whole, not because he's finished, but because he's faithful. And that, he knows now, is enough. He stands once more on the rooftop where it all began. The city stretching endlessly below, the sky painted in orange and blue. His voice carries like a whisper through the wind. Discipline is not a cage. It's the wings you build, one choice at a time to finally fly free. He smiles. Not because the journey was easy, but because it was real. And as the light swells, swallowing the skyline, his silhouette dissolves into the dawn, a man who learned that freedom isn't found in doing everything, but in doing what matters, with love.